In recent times, a wave of uncertainty has swept through Brussels, signaling what could be one of the most challenging periods in the political career of European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. For years, she held a pivotal role in shaping the political landscape of the European Union, crafting narratives that helped solidify her position as one of the most influential figures in European politics. However, her grip on power is now facing unprecedented pressure as the dynamics in Europe shift dramatically. The Brussels bureaucracy, long accustomed to having its decisions met with widespread support and unquestioned authority, is now confronting a new reality. Criticism, once voiced primarily by outspoken national leaders such as Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, is gaining traction. Even more striking is the intervention of former U.S. President Donald Trump, whose recent remarks have sent shockwaves through the European political establishment. Trump's speech challenged numerous EU policies, particularly those concerning energy security and Europe's relationship with Russia, and sparked a broader reassessment of Brussels' authority. One of the most controversial points raised in Trump's address focused on the EU's stance on Russian energy resources. He highlighted the contradiction between European leaders' declarations of severing ties with Russian energy and the continued import of these very resources. For years, figures like von der Leyen, French President Emmanuel Macron, and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz assured the public that Europe had overcome its dependency on Russian energy and secured alternative sources. However, Trump's remarks shattered this narrative, revealing that behind closed doors, Russian gas continued to flow into European markets. The revelation undermined Brussels' credibility and brought attention to Europe's energy insecurity, with reports indicating that the EU's gas reserves had dwindled to worrying levels. According to recent data, Europe's gas deficit has reached a staggering 20 billion cubic meters, raising serious concerns about the continent's energy stability. Russian energy giant Gazprom confirmed that reserves in European underground storage facilities were depleting at an accelerated pace, casting doubt on the EU's ability to maintain energy independence. The stark reality is that Europe has been relying heavily on strategic reserves accumulated in previous years, reserves that were meant to ensure stability through harsh winters. As those reserves run dry, von der Leyen is now faced with the daunting task of explaining these contradictions to the public. The challenges extend beyond energy policy. Trump's approach to European diplomacy has upended long-standing protocols, bypassing EU institutions in favor of direct engagement with national leaders. Reports suggest that his administration has little interest in maintaining formal relations with Brussels, preferring bilateral negotiations reminiscent of 19th-century diplomacy. Recent meetings between Trump and leaders such as Macron and Polish President Andrzej Duda reflect this shift, signaling a move away from treating the EU as a unified political entity. This strategy has profound implications for the European Commission's role in global politics. Washington's disregard for Brussels as a key negotiating partner weakens the EU's position and diminishes its influence. For von der Leyen, being excluded from crucial discussions, such as those held at the Munich Security Conference, was a symbolic blow, reinforcing the perception that her authority is waning. Even European media, which had long echoed Brussels' narratives, have begun to acknowledge the cracks in the system. Furthermore, Trump's stance has emboldened leaders like Orban, who argue that Europe's future lies in strengthening national sovereignty rather than adhering to Brussels' centralized authority. In countries like Poland, Washington's pivot toward bilateral relations is seen as a validation of their push for greater independence from EU oversight. France and Germany, traditionally seen as the backbone of European unity, are now contemplating the idea of strategic autonomy, an acknowledgement that relying on Brussels may no longer serve their best interests. Compounding von der Leyen's troubles are renewed calls to revisit past controversies, particularly surrounding the EU's vaccine procurement process. In 2021, the European Commission struck a multi-billion euro deal with Pfizer, much of which was personally negotiated by von der Leyen without following standard procedures. The lack of transparency surrounding the deal, estimated to exceed 35 billion euros, sparked an investigation that was quietly shelved. Now, with political winds shifting, Some parties are demanding the inquiry be reopened, threatening to reignite a scandal that could further erode public trust in Brussels. As the EU grapples with these internal divisions, Trump's return to power has only deepened the fractures. His administration's decision to sideline the European Commission in favor of engaging directly with national governments reflects a broader recalibration of international relations. For von der Leyen, once a symbol of European unity and strength, the current climate marks a steep fall from grace. Her influence, once unquestioned, is now being overshadowed by the resurgence of national politics. More broadly, this unfolding crisis reveals the fragile nature of European integration. The vision of a united Europe, capable of speaking with one voice, is being challenged by forces pushing for a return to sovereign decision-making. Trump's preference for dealing with national leaders underscores the diminishing relevance of Brussels in shaping the global agenda. Even discussions on trade relations, once the purview of the European Commission, are now being conducted directly with national governments, further marginalizing EU institutions. In the midst of this upheaval, von der Leyen's leadership is increasingly seen as emblematic of a system that is out of touch with the realities faced by ordinary Europeans. Her careful balancing act, trying to maintain a tough stance against Russia while quietly relying on its energy, has left her vulnerable to accusations of hypocrisy. Meanwhile, her exclusion from key diplomatic channels has only reinforced the perception that the European Commission is losing its grip on power. As Europe stands at a crossroads, the future of the EU hangs in the balance. Will the continent seize this moment to reclaim its sovereignty, forging a new path free from Brussels bureaucracy? Or will it remain tethered to a system that many believe no longer serves its people? One thing is clear. The tectonic plates of global politics are shifting, and Europe's leaders must decide whether to adapt or risk being left behind. Only time will tell if this marks the end of the Brussels era or the dawn of a new European awakening.